Commander Vex-9 stood before the massive viewing screen, her 4 arms crossed in what could only be described as cosmic frustration. The purple-scaled Zephyrian warrior had seen many battles across 17 star systems, but nothing quite like this. Her crimson eyes narrowed as she watched the latest surveillance footage from the human colony on Kepler 442b. "So let me get this straight," she muttered, her voice dripping with disbelief. "The most feared war beast in the galaxy, the legendary Shadow Maw that has terrorized 3 galactic sectors, the creature that single-handedly destroyed the Titangent-class battleship Nemesis, is currently sleeping on some human's feet?" Captain Brex-4, her second-in-command, shifted uncomfortably on his 6 legs. The insectoid officer's compound eyes flickered nervously as he pulled up the data on his holographic display. "Yes, Commander, that appears to be accurate." "Accurate?" Vex-9's voice rose several octaves, causing nearby crew members to duck behind their consoles. "Accurate doesn't begin to cover this cosmic joke. Do you see what I'm looking at here, Brex?" The captain reluctantly moved closer to the main screen, where crystal-clear surveillance footage showed a sight that defied all military logic. There, in what appeared to be a modest human dwelling, lay the infamous Shadow Maw. The creature that stood nearly 4 meters tall and possessed claws capable of slicing through titanium hull plating was currently curled up like some sort of oversized domestic pet at the feet of a human male who couldn't have weighed more than 70 kilograms. "The human appears to be watching some form of entertainment programming," Brex-4 observed, his mandibles clicking nervously. "And he's scratching behind the Shadow Maw's ears." "Oh, wonderful!" Vex-9 threw all 4 arms up in exasperation. "Just wonderful! The terror of the cosmos is getting belly rubs from a bipedal primate. This is exactly what I needed to report back to Queen Zareth Prime. Your Majesty, good news and bad news. Good news, we found your missing warbeast. Bad news, he's apparently decided to become a house pet." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle humming of the ship's engines and the occasional nervous click from Brex-4's exoskeleton. Through the speakers, they could hear the faint sound of the human's voice as he spoke to the massive creature. "Who's a good boy? Who's the goodest boy in the galaxy?" The human cooed, completely oblivious to the fact that he was addressing a bioengineered killing machine worth approximately 40 million galactic credits. Lieutenant Cora 7, the ship's communications officer, raised one of her tentacled appendages. "Commander, should we inform Queen Zareth Prime of the situation?" "Inform her?" Vex-9 let out a bitter laugh that echoed through the bridge. "Oh yes. Let's call up the most feared ruler in the Andromeda sector and tell her that her prized war beast, the crown jewel of her military might, is currently having his tummy rubbed by some random human who probably thinks he's found a stray space dog." The Shadow Maw, as if sensing he was being discussed, lifted his massive head and yawned, revealing rows of crystalline teeth that could bite through reinforced steel. Then, in a display that made several bridge officers question the fundamental nature of reality, the creature nuzzled against the human's leg with what could only be described as affection. "This is Tom Briggs reporting for Colony News Network," the human said, apparently recording some sort of broadcast. "Day 14 with my new companion. Still haven't figured out exactly what species he is, but he's incredibly well behaved. Haven't had to take him to the vet yet, but I'm starting to think he might need some specialized care. He's been eating my neighbor's metal fence posts, which seems unusual." "Metal fence posts," Brex-4 repeated slowly. "He's treating the consumption of refined metals as if it were some sort of dietary quirk." "Of course he is!" Vex-9 slapped her forehead with 2 of her hands. "Because why wouldn't a human think that a creature eating metal is just slightly unusual? On my home world, if something started consuming our infrastructure, we'd call in orbital bombardment. But this human? This human is concerned about veterinary care," the surveillance feed continued, showing Tom Briggs preparing what appeared to be an enormous meal. The human had somehow procured several large sheets of scrap metal and was arranging them in a feeding dish the size of a small bathtub. "Dinner time, buddy," Tom called out cheerfully. "I managed to get some grade A titanium scraps from the construction site. The foreman thinks I'm starting some kind of art project." The Shadow Maw's tail began wagging with enough force to knock over furniture, and the creature bounded toward his meal with the enthusiasm of an ordinary pet. Each step shook the entire dwelling, but Tom seemed completely unfazed by the minor seismic activity. "Alert status, Commander?" asked Ensign Wright 12, the ship's tactical officer, whose crystalline shell was flickering with nervous energy. "What alert status could possibly cover this situation, Ensign?" Vex-9 gestured helplessly at the screen. "Code blue for missing war beast? Code yellow for diplomatic incident? Or maybe we need a brand new code for Galactic superweapon has been domesticated by clueless human. Perhaps code absurd?" suggested Brex-4, immediately regretting his attempt at humor when Vex-9's glare could have melted hull plating. "Captain, I want you to research every military protocol in our database. Surely, somewhere in the vast archives of Zephyrian military history, someone has encountered a situation where their ultimate weapon decided to become someone's pet. Already checked." "Commander," Brex-4 replied, consulting his datapad. "The closest incident was during the Proxima Wars, when a combat android fell in love with a toaster. But even that was considered more militarily comprehensible than this." On the screen, Tom was now brushing the Shadow Maw's scales with what appeared to be a large industrial brush. The war beast was purring, a sound that registered on their seismic sensors as a minor earthquake. "The local humans have started calling him Buddy," Lieutenant Cora 7 reported, monitoring civilian communications. Apparently, Tom told his neighbors he rescued him from the asteroid mining facility. "They think he's some kind of exotic mining dog." "Mining dog," Vex-9 repeated flatly. "A creature capable of single-handedly conquering small moons is being mistaken for industrial equipment with fur." "Technically, Commander, the Shadow Maw doesn't have fur. His exterior is composed of adaptive bio-armor that can withstand plasma fire and— Thank you for the technical briefing, Brex." Vex-9 snapped. "I'm well aware of the creature's capabilities. I was there when Queen Zareth Prime unveiled him to the War Council. I watched him demolish that entire moon just to demonstrate his power. And now look at him!" They all turned to look at the screen, where the Shadow Maw was now lying on his back while Tom rubbed his belly. The creature's legs were kicking in the air with pure joy, and his tail was creating small craters in the floor with each happy thump. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Royal Palace," announced Cora 7, her voice carrying the distinct tone of someone delivering very bad news. "Of course there is," Vex-9 muttered. "Put Her Majesty through, and may the cosmic forces have mercy on our souls." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at Queen Zareth Prime herself. The ruler of the Zephyrian Empire stood nearly 3 meters tall, her bioluminescent crown pulsing with barely contained fury. Her 6 eyes fixed on Vex-9 with the intensity of a supernova. "Commander Vex-9, the Queen's voice could have frozen liquid nitrogen. I trust you have good news about the recovery of my war beast." "Your Majesty," Vex-9 began carefully, "we have successfully located the Shadow Maw. He is alive, healthy, and completely unharmed." "Excellent. Prepare for immediate extraction. I have 3 worlds to conquer next week, and I'll need him for the siege of the Meridian colonies." "About that, Your Majesty." Vex-9 glanced desperately at her crew, all of whom suddenly found their control panels fascinating. There might be a slight complication. Queen Zareth Prime's bioluminescent crown shifted from blue to an ominous shade of red. Complication? Well, you see, the Shadow Maw appears to have formed a bond with a local human. A bond? The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. What kind of bond? A domestic bond, Your Majesty. The silence that followed was so complete that they could hear the cosmic background radiation humming through the ship's hull. Queen Zareth Prime's expression went through several phases, from confusion to disbelief to what could only be described as homicidal rage. "Are you telling me," she said with deadly calm, "that my ultimate biological weapon, the terror that has conquered 17 star systems, the creature I spent 47 years and the resources of 12 planets to create, has become a pet? That's one way to describe the situation? Your Majesty, show me." Vex-9 reluctantly switched the feed to the surveillance footage. Queen Zareth Prime watched in growing horror as her fearsome war beast rolled over for belly rubs, fetched what appeared to be a massive stick made of twisted metal, and then curled up for a nap with his head resting on Tom's lap. He's drooling on the human," the Queen whispered, her voice barely audible. "Yes, Your Majesty. Quite extensively. And the human island. Reading him bedtime stories, it appears. Currently, it's something called the Very Hungry Caterpillar, though I'm not sure the human realizes how prophetic that particular choice might be." Queen Zareth Prime stared at the screen for a long moment, watching as Tom gently stroked the Shadowmaw's head while reading in a soothing voice about caterpillars and their dietary habits. The war beast's purring was now registering as a minor seismic event on the planet's monitoring stations. "Commander Vex-9, the Queen said finally, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I want you to retrieve my war beast. I don't care if you have to level that entire colony. I don't care if you have to fight through their entire defense fleet. And I certainly don't care about the feelings of one random human who thinks he's found a new pet. Understood, Your Majesty. However, there might be one additional complication. I can't imagine how this situation could possibly get more complicated. The human has apparently filed paperwork with the colonial government to officially adopt the Shadowmaw. According to local law, he's now the legal owner of what he's registered as an exotic companion animal. He's even gotten him vaccinated and licensed. The connection went silent for so long that Vex-9 wondered if the transmission had been cut. Finally, Queen Zareth Prime spoke, her voice carrying the barely contained fury of a collapsing star. "He got him. Vaccinated?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Against something called space rabies and cosmic distemper. The veterinarian apparently had to special order a larger examination table. And this human, this Tom Briggs, believes he can simply keep my ultimate weapon as a household pet? He's even bought him a collar, Your Majesty. It says Buddy in 12 different languages and has a tracking device in case he gets lost." Queen Zareth Prime closed all 6 of her eyes and took what appeared to be a very deep, calming breath. When she opened them again, they were glowing with an intensity that made several bridge officers step behind blast shields. "Commander, you will deploy to the surface immediately. You will retrieve my war beast by any means necessary. And you will bring me this Tom Briggs so I can explain to him personally why one does not simply adopt a galactic superweapon." "Yes, Your Majesty. Should we prepare for armed resistance from the human?" "Commander, he's apparently convinced that a creature capable of destroying planets is just a really big dog. I seriously doubt he poses any military threat. However, given how this entire situation has unfolded, I'm no longer making assumptions about anything." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Vex-9 looked around at her crew, all of whom were trying very hard not to make eye contact. "Well," she said finally, "this should be interesting. Prepare a landing party. Full tactical gear, but try not to look too threatening. We're apparently going to attempt the first diplomatic extraction of a domesticated war beast in galactic history." "Commander," Rex-4 ventured carefully, "what if the Shadowmaw doesn't want to leave?" Vex-9 stared at him for a moment, then looked back at the surveillance feed, where Tom was now teaching the massive creature to play fetch with what appeared to be a small asteroid. "Brex, if that creature prefers belly rubs and bedtime stories to conquering star systems, then we are dealing with a situation so far outside standard military protocol that we might as well throw our training manuals into the nearest black hole. Should I prepare a diplomatic contact protocol? Prepare everything, Captain. Diplomatic protocols, tactical options, and maybe a really good bottle of whatever that human is drinking, because I have a feeling we're all going to need it before this is over. As the ship prepared for what had to be the strangest military operation in galactic history, Vex-9 couldn't help but wonder how she was going to explain this in her mission report. Assuming, of course, that she survived long enough to write. 1. On the surface below, completely oblivious to the approaching storm of intergalactic confusion, Tom Briggs was teaching his new best friend how to roll over. 3 hours later, Vex-9 stood at the edge of Tom Briggs's property, staring at what could only be described as the most surreal scene in her military career. The human was in his backyard, hosting what appeared to be a neighborhood barbecue. The Shadow Maw sat patiently next to a picnic table, wearing an oversized party hat and wagging his tail every time someone tossed him a scrap of metal siding. "This is definitely not covered in the tactical manual," muttered Sergeant Yill 3, her demolitions expert, who was currently hiding behind a decorative garden gnome. "Sir," whispered Lieutenant Knox 8 through the comm system, "the human has invited approximately 15 other humans to this gathering. They're all treating the war beast like he's some kind of mascot." Vex-9 watched in growing disbelief as a small human child ran up to the Shadow Maw and hugged one of his massive legs. Instead of incinerating the child with plasma breath, the creature gently nuzzled the youngster and made what could only be described as happy chirping noises. "Status report from the perimeter team?" she asked, trying to maintain some semblance of military procedure in this cosmic joke of a situation. "All quiet, Commander," came the response from Corporal Rix 5. "Although I should mention that the human's neighbor just asked me if I was part of the entertainment. Apparently, they think we're performers in costume." "Performers in costume," Vex-9 repeated slowly. "Our advanced tactical armor, designed to withstand direct hits from plasma cannons, is being mistaken for party costumes. The neighbor offered me a beer, sir. Did you accept it? Standard protocol suggested I should maintain cover, so—" "Yes, Commander. It's actually quite refreshing." Vex-9 pinched the bridge of her nose with 2 hands, while using the other 2 to check her sidearm. This was supposed to be a simple extraction mission. Get in, retrieve the war beast, get out. Instead, she was conducting surveillance on a barbecue, where her target was playing what appeared to be an enthusiastic game of tug-of-war with a rope made from braided steel cable. "Commander," Lieutenant Cora 7's voice crackled through the comm. "Queen Zareth Prime is requesting an immediate status update. Tell Her Majesty that we've located the target and are assessing the tactical situation." Should I mention the party hats? Absolutely not. Tom Briggs chose that moment to stand up and address his guests, holding what appeared to be some kind of ceremonial beverage. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to propose a toast to our newest neighbor, Buddy. 2 weeks ago, I thought I was just helping out a lost animal. Today, I realize I've gained not just a pet, but a member of our community." The assembled humans raised their drinks and cheered, while the Shadow Maw responded by letting out a roar that shattered 3 windows and triggered car alarms throughout the neighborhood. The humans applauded enthusiastically. "They're applauding," Sergeant Yill 3 observed with the tone of someone questioning the fundamental nature of reality. "A war cry that could level a small building, and they're applauding." "Martha brought her famous potato salad," Tom continued, gesturing toward an elderly human female. "And Buddy here helped me prepare his favorite snack, grilled titanium strips with a side of copper wiring. He's describing military-grade metal consumption as if it were a delicacy," Lieutenant Knox 8 reported. "The humans seem to think this is completely normal." Vex-9 made a command decision. "All teams, we're going in. Remember, minimal force. We're dealing with civilians who apparently have no idea what they're dealing with." What's our cover story, Commander? We're government inspectors, here to check on exotic animal permits. Government inspectors in full combat armor? Very thorough government inspectors. The team moved in, trying to look as non-threatening as possible, while wearing enough firepower to level a small moon. As they approached the backyard gate, Tom Briggs noticed them and broke into a welcoming smile. "Well, hello there," he called out cheerfully. "Are you folks here for the party?" I didn't think the invitation had spread this far, but the more the merrier. Vex-9 stepped forward, her translator working overtime to convert her formal military speech into something resembling casual human conversation. "Greetings, citizen. We are here on official business regarding your companion animal. Oh, you must be from the Exotic Pet Licensing Department." Tom's face lit up with excitement. "I was wondering when someone would come by. Buddy's paperwork is all up to date, I promise. Though I did have to list his species as unknown terrestrial hybrid. The form didn't have a category for whatever he actually islanded." The Shadow Maw looked up from his meal of processed aluminum and tilted his massive head, studying the newcomers with glowing amber eyes. For a moment, Vex-9 thought she saw a flicker of recognition in those ancient orbs. Then the creature yawned, showing teeth that could bite through starship hull, and went back to his snack. "Perhaps we could speak privately," Vex-9 suggested, gesturing away from the crowd of humans who were now taking selfies with her tactical team. "Of course." "Buddy?" "Stay," Tom commanded, pointing at the war beast. The creature that had once single-handedly destroyed an entire battle fleet immediately sat down and waited patiently, his tail creating small earthquakes with each happy wag. They moved to a quieter corner of the yard, where Vex-9 struggled to find words that wouldn't cause an intergalactic incident. "Mr. Briggs, we have reason to believe that your companion may not be exactly what he appears to be." "Oh, I know he's special," Tom nodded enthusiastically. "The vet said he's never seen anything like him. Doctor, Peterson thinks he might be some kind of genetic throwback, maybe related to dinosaurs. That would explain the metal consumption and the incredible size." "Mr. Briggs," Vex-9 tried again. "What if I told you that your pet is actually a highly sophisticated biological weapon?" Tom laughed, a sound that somehow made the situation even more surreal. "A weapon? Buddy? Have you seen him with children? He's the gentlest creature I've ever met. Yesterday, he spent 3 hours helping Mrs. Henderson retrieve her cat from a tree. He was so careful not to hurt the little thing. He helped rescue a cat. Used his tail like a crane. Most delicate operation you ever saw." The fire department was amazed. Vex-9 looked back at the Shadow Maw, who was now allowing several small humans to climb on his back like a living jungle gym. The creature that had once been the terror of the galaxy was purring so loudly that it was causing sympathetic vibrations in nearby buildings. "Mr. Briggs," she said slowly, "what would you say if I told you that Buddy is actually from very far away? Like Australia? I wondered about that. He does seem exotic. Farther than Australia. Asia? Much farther." Tom's eyes widened. "You mean like space? Finally?" Vex-9 thought. "Yes, exactly like space." "Well, that would explain a lot," Tom nodded thoughtfully. "I did find him near the meteor crash site. And he does seem to have some unusual dietary requirements. Plus, there was that incident with the metal detector that turned into modern art." "You're not surprised?" "Surprised? Are you kidding? This is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. I always wondered if we were alone in the universe. And now I've got proof sitting right there eating my neighbor's fence posts." Vex-9 stared at him. In all her years of military service, through battles with warrior races and negotiations with hostile civilizations, she had never encountered a reaction quite like this one. Most species either fled in terror or prepared for war when confronted with the existence of alien life. This human was treating it like winning some kind of cosmic lottery. Mr. Briggs, the people who sent Buddy here would like him back. Oh. Tom's expression fell. I see. Is he in trouble? Because, if it's about the property damage, I've been keeping detailed receipts. Insurance should cover most of it. He's not in trouble. But he island. Important. To his people. Tom looked back at the Shadow Maw, who was now wearing a flower crown made by the neighbor children and posing for pictures. He's important to my people too now. Look at him. He's the hit of the neighborhood. Mrs. Chen down the street has been baking him special metal cookies. The kids have started a fan club. And honestly, I think he's happy here. Mr. Briggs, you don't understand. Buddy isn't just any alien creature. He's a war beast, designed for combat. Tom looked genuinely shocked. But he's so gentle. The only thing he's destroyed is my lawn furniture. And that was an accident during an overly enthusiastic game of fetch. He's destroyed entire planets, Mr. Briggs. Planets? Tom blinked several times. Really? Really? Tom was quiet for a moment, processing this information. Then he looked back at the Shadow Maw, who was now letting a toddler use him as a slide. You know what? I don't care. You don't care? Nope. I don't care what he used to do. I care about what he's doing now. And right now, he's making everyone in this neighborhood happy. He's part of our community. He belongs here. Vex-9 felt something she had never experienced in her military career. Complete tactical uncertainty. She had prepared for resistance, for negotiation, even for combat. She had not prepared for a human who simply didn't care that his pet was a galactic superweapon. Mr. Briggs, his owner wants him back. She's very powerful, and she's not accustomed to being denied. Then she'll just have to get accustomed to it, Tom said with surprising firmness. Buddy chose to stay here. He's not some weapon anymore. He's family. At that moment, the Shadow Maw looked up from where he was being adorned with ribbons by the local children. His ancient eyes met Vex-9's, and she saw something in them she had never seen before in all her encounters with the creature. Contentment. Not the satisfaction of victory in battle, not the fierce joy of conquest, but simple, peaceful happiness. Commander, Lieutenant Cora 7's voice came through the comm with obvious urgency. Incoming transmission from Queen Zareth Prime. She demands an immediate report. Vex-9 sighed, a sound that somehow conveyed the weight of the entire galaxy. Put her through. The holographic display materialized, showing Queen Zareth Prime's increasingly agitated face. Commander, I trust you have my war beast secured and ready for transport? Your Majesty, Vex-9 began carefully, the situation has become complex. Complex how? The human refuses to relinquish custody of the Shadow Maw, then remove the human from the equation. It's not that simple, Your Majesty. The creature appears to have genuinely bonded with the human and his community. Any attempt to remove him by force might result in resistance. Resistance from the human? Resistance from the Shadow Maw. Queen Zareth Prime was silent for several seconds. Are you telling me that my ultimate weapon would fight to protect a random human? Vex-9 looked over at the scene playing out in the backyard, where the Shadow Maw was now playing what appeared to be an elaborate game of hide-and-seek with the neighborhood children, despite being roughly the size of a small building. Yes, Your Majesty, I believe that's exactly what I'm telling you. This is unacceptable. He was created for war, not for whatever this is. Your Majesty, permission to speak freely? Granted. Maybe he was created for war, but perhaps he's chosen peace. And maybe, just maybe, that's not such a terrible thing. The silence that followed could have been measured in geological epochs. Finally, Queen Zareth Prime spoke, her voice carrying a tone Vex-9 had never heard before. Uncertainty. Commander, are you suggesting I simply abandon 47 years of research and 40 million galactic credits? I'm suggesting, Your Majesty, that maybe the Shadow Maw has found something worth more than conquest." On cue, the war beast's joyful roar echoed across the neighborhood as he successfully located a hidden child, followed by delighted laughter and applause from the gathered humans. Queen Zareth Prime watched the scene for a long moment, her 6 eyes taking in every detail of her ultimate weapon, playing games with children and wearing flower crowns. Finally, she let out a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of an entire empire. "Commander Vex-9, you will monitor the situation from orbit. If the Shadow Maw is truly happy there, then perhaps it's time for the Zephyrian Empire to consider alternative approaches to galactic expansion." "Alternative approaches, Your Majesty? Perhaps instead of conquest, we might try diplomacy. If a simple human can turn a war beast into a beloved community member, maybe there are lessons to be learned here." The transmission ended, leaving Vex-9 staring at Tom Briggs, who was now teaching the Shadow Maw how to gently water the garden plants with controlled plasma bursts. "So," Tom said cheerfully, "I guess Buddy gets to stay?" "I guess he does, Mr. Briggs." "Wonderful. You know, you and your friends are welcome to stay for the barbecue. We've got plenty of food, and I think everyone would love to hear about space travel." As the sun set over the small human colony, Commander Vex-9 found herself sitting at a picnic table, wearing a party hat, and explaining the finer points of faster-than-light travel to a group of fascinated humans, while the most feared war beast in the galaxy napped contentedly at their feet. Sometimes, she reflected, the universe had a sense of humor after all. And in the cosmic distance, Queen Zareth Prime began drafting new diplomatic policies, wondering if perhaps there were better ways to expand an empire than through fear and conquest. After all, if a simple human named Tom Briggs could accomplish what entire military campaigns had failed to do, maybe it was time to try a different approach entirely.